Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
Hello and welcome. I'm Ananya Datta and I'm back with another edition of Race to Power. Here's what we have lined up for you. Israel is battling on many fronts. That's not news. But that's true for on the ground as well as politically. While a consensus with Palestinians looks like a far-fetched thought right now, there is growing pressure internally as well. A bill has been submitted to dissolve Israel's parliament. Now in South Africa, the predictions are coming true. The African National Congress is on course to lose majority in parliament for the very first time. Stay tuned for ground updates. As Israel continues to carry out its military onslaught in Gaza, big developments coming in on the political front. Israeli War Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz's party submitted a bill in the Knesset to dissolve Israel's parliament. Now, the move by Israeli War Cabinet Minister is seen as an attempt to topple the government led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Gantz had previously set a deadline for 8th of June for Netanyahu to approve a plan of action for what the leader has said were 6 key goals of the war. Earlier this month, Gantz threatened to leave Netanyahu's coalition if the premier does not declare a plan for the day after Hamas in Gaza. Now, to tell us what's happening on the ground, we are being joined by our correspondent Jody Cohen on the phone line with us. Jody, thanks for connecting with us. All right. I've just been told we have lost Jody. We'll try to reconnect with her. And for those of you who are just joining in, we have been told just moments back that in Israel, Benny Gantz's party has submitted a bill in the parliament that could potentially topple the current government because it's a dissolution bill. Now, this comes amid internal political conflicts have been going on at a time when Israel is fighting on the ground on different fronts. Of course, one is in Gaza and the other is also with Hezbollah. Now, this, of course, comes just a month back. Remember, Benny Gantz had threatened to leave Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition if the Prime Minister does not declare a plan for what happens in Gaza after Israel's operation in Gaza. And that is one of the major focus of Gantz. Now, correspondent Jody Cohen is back on the phone line with us. Jody, good to have you. What is the latest you can tell us?
Hi, Ananya. So this is obviously breaking news, but the National Unity Party has submitted a bill to dissolve Israel's parliament. Now, this isn't the first bill of this kind. There have been regular attempts in Parliament to do this, but those have come from the opposition and failed. But this is the first time that it's come from the National Unity Party. Now, that's the party of Benny Gantz, and he joins the coalition at the start of the war. He's seen as the biggest rival to Prime Minister Netanyahu. Now, recently, he gave an ultimatum to Netanyahu saying that he must present a post-war plan for Gaza or that Gantz would leave the coalition, and the deadline he gave was the 8th of June. And Gantz's plan is for elections to be held by October, and that would be 1 year after Hamas's 7th of October massacre.
All right, Jody, thank you so much for getting us all those insights. Speaking of that, Benjamin Netanyahu is receiving global criticism over the ongoing military onslaught in Gaza. But on the domestic front, things are looking up for the leader. For the very first time in many months, Netanyahu's party has registered some gains in popularity against the war cabinet leader and political rival Benny Gantz. According to a poll conducted by Israel's Channel 12, results of the survey found Netanyahu's right-wing Likud party gaining on Gantz's centrist National Union. According to the poll, if elections in Israel were held today, Netanyahu's Likud party would win 21 seats as compared to Gantz's National Union securing 25 seats out of the 120 seats in the Knesset. The latest survey shows only 4-seat difference between the two rivals, with Netanyahu-led Likud party closing the earlier massive gap. A poll last December revealed that Gantz would win 37 seats as compared to Netanyahu only bagging 18 seats. Netanyahu himself has also taken a lead against Gantz, and results of the Wednesday poll revealed that 36% Israelis want Netanyahu as the country's prime minister, compared to 30% who side with Gantz. The survey marks a significant turnaround for the Israeli Prime Minister, who had trailed his war cabinet minister in the past few months. A poll from April itself shows Netanyahu trailing, with only 29% Israelis choosing him over 35% people who wanted Gantz as the premier instead. Matters were much worse for the Likud party leader last December, when just 27% Israelis preferred Netanyahu as the country's prime minister, while as many as 45% supported Gantz to be Israel's next leader. A day after voting concluded in South Africa's crucial elections, counting is underway as we speak. It is predicted the voter turnout could surpass the 66% mark, a record set in the 2019 polls. Final results of the elections are expected by Sunday. The Electoral Commission has announced the results in small tranches. Preliminary results show the ruling African National Congress losing majority for the very first time, in line with predictions these past few months. Early trends also reveal the ANC might secure less than 50% of the electoral mandate, with all eyes waiting with bated breath to see which way the mandate swings. Our correspondent Kalden Ongmo, who has been tracking all the developments from Johannesburg, has sent us this report.
I am at the IEC's Result Operating Center, where all the numbers from across the country's voting districts are coming through. These big screens behind me tell you who is leading and who is left behind. The ANC, for the very first time in 30 years, is likely to fall below the 50% mark, forcing them to go into coalition. talks on the ground are ANC and DA may be forced to form a grand coalition, but it's still too early to predict the future. At 3 p.m. South African time, only 20% of the overall votes were counted. In KwaZulu-Natal, which is the country's most populated province, Jacob Zuma's new party, the Umkhonto weSizwe, has garnered highest votes so far. Even some of the ANC officials admit that they have done exceptionally well in the province. This is Kalden Almo from Johannesburg, South Africa, for WION World is One.
On the ground, Africans have mixed reactions to the polling process, the overall election outcome, issues that have piled on over the years.
Other people couldn't even vote. You're in South Africa, but you can't even vote. So what the IEC did to us yesterday was not good. One day they must explain to us why they couldn't give us national and provincial ballots while I'm in my province and country.
I voted well. I voted for different party. Hopefully it's going to change. The people in power hopefully are going to come down and we're going to have a new political party.
Many in the country shared concerns over rising unemployment that is at its highest as we speak. Other issues include rampant crime, corruption scandals and regular power cuts and water shortages. In 2023, the economy grew a meager 0.6%. Now to take this further, we are being joined by political analyst and writer Kim Heller from Johannesburg. Ms. Heller, good to see you again. The early results we are receiving from Johannesburg suggest that the ANC is on course to lose the majority in Parliament for the very first time, that's in 30 long years. How are people in Johannesburg reacting to that?
Thank you once again for this interview. And I think there's a mixture of surprise, shock, and excitement, perhaps, because, as you were saying, in 30 years, the ANC has run the country uncontested as a majority party. And as Kalden correctly said, this is the first time it's going to have to entertain going into a coalition. But I think people in South Africa, as shown by the poll results, are absolutely frustrated. They've come to the end of their hope for the ANC to deliver them a better life. So I think people are looking forward to a new government in place, albeit with the ANC and another partner.
Ms. Heller, speaking of coalition, do you think that will bring more clarity or chaos?
That's a very good question, because a coalition is going to have different configurations on a national basis as well as provincial. And what we've seen in South Africa is that on a regional and provincial basis, coalitions have caused more deadlocks and paralysis than progress. So I think South Africa is in for a rough few months, irrespective of the coalition decisions, as parties debate different portfolios and things. I think it's going to be rough sailing for a while.
Ms. Heller, as always, thank you so much for speaking with us. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, for me too. Thank you.
All right, now the former head of the Dutch spy agency dubbed as the Netherlands' smiling killer, Dick Schoof, has been proposed as the new Prime Minister of Netherlands. After nearly 6 months of debate within the coalition of 4 right-wing parties, Schoof has been nominated to succeed outgoing Premier Mark Rutte. The 67-year-old is currently the top official in the Justice Ministry. He's been labelled the smiling killer by fellow civil servants for his ruthlessness.
For me, this is a very intense moment. I never would have expected to be asked. To standing here is an honor, very special, and I'm well aware that the Prime Minister of the Netherlands is an intense job, but honorable.
Despite having no previous experience in Parliament or government, Schoof's extensive background in public service and his commitment to the rule of law makes him a compelling candidate for the role. His appointment comes after election winner Geert Wilders, the leader of the far-right Party for Freedom, formed a coalition with 3 other conservative parties. Now, Geert Wilders ruled himself out of the top job, allowing the coalition to nominate Schroef. The smiling killer's career in public service began at the Association of Netherlands Municipalities, followed by a role at the Ministry of Education, Culture and Science in 1988. In 1996, he was appointed Deputy Secretary General at the Ministry of Justice and Security. Schroef has held several high-profile positions, including Chief Director at the Immigration and Naturalization Service, where he played a significant role in reforming immigration legislation. From 2010 to 2013, he served as Director General of Police, and in 2019, Schroef was appointed as the Secretary General at the Ministry of Justice and Security, tasked with addressing scandals within the ministry. Moving on now, allegations of British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak being out of touch with the masses seem to have caught up with him once again. Now, setting off on a campaign visit to one of the country's most economically backward areas, Sunak was spotted carrying a $950 Tumi luxury bag, personalized with his initials, RS, as he boarded a sleeper train in Cornwall. This is not the first time Sunak has come under scrutiny for being disconnected with the masses. His critics have labelled him as upper-class leader or an elite, an out-of-touch party. Many of the reforms he has initiated have been seen as one of out of touch with reality. Sunak has been seen supporting ultra-expensive clothing items and accessories during campaign events in the past too. In July of 2022, when he first campaigned to be a Tory leader, Sunak was seen wearing a pair of Prada. Now, these shoes were worth some $620. Rishi Sunak is one of the wealthiest politicians in Westminster. His wife, Akshata Murthy, the daughter of IT mogul Narayan Murthy, recently topped a list of British fashion elite. Shifting focus to India now, after over a month of back and forth, the mass sexual assault case in India might see a big development in the next 24 hours. The main accused, Prajwal Revanna, has left Germany and is scheduled to reach India tomorrow morning. Reports suggest authorities will arrest him on arrival. Remember, Revanna left India on a diplomatic passport. The External Affairs Ministry confirmed that he did not follow the protocol needed before leaving, and action has been initiated to revoke his diplomatic passport. Meanwhile, the father, HD Revanna, is out on bail after spending 10 days in prison. He is also facing charges of rape and kidnapping. Just on Thursday, thousands of people joined a procession in Hassan. This is the same constituency where the JDS and BJP have jointly fielded Revanna in this year's general elections. The people are demanding the arrest of the suspended leader. Earlier reports suggested that women survivors were fleeing the area to avoid social taboo or threats. The case came to light a day after Hassan constituency went to polls. Thousands of pen drives were circulated in public places that contained close to 9,000 videos that showed Member of Parliament Revanna allegedly abusing different women. Some were over 60 years old and could be heard begging to be let go. Reports say that the women are government employees and domestic helps. Three years after pro-democracy protests rocked Hong Kong, 14 of the country's activists and democratic leaders have been convicted in a landmark subversion trial. The verdict has triggered mixed reactions. Many are concerned that it comes as a major blow to Hong Kong's law and order situation. Next report telling you more.
In a landmark subversion trial, 14 Hong Kong pro-democracy activists were found guilty and 2 acquitted on Thursday. Critics say it could deal another blow to the city's rule of law and its reputation as a global financial hub. Security was tight as diplomats entered the High Court for the verdicts. Some supporters of the accused even queued overnight. The verdicts in Hong Kong's biggest trial against the democratic opposition come 3 years after police arrested 47 Democrats in dawn raids across the city. They were charged with conspiracy to commit subversion under a national security law imposed by China. Accused of a plot to paralyse government in the former British colony and force the city's leader to resign through a pre-selection ballot in a July 2020 citywide election. The Democrats maintain it was an unofficial attempt to select the strongest candidates in a bid to win a historic majority in Hong Kong's legislature. Acquitted barrister Lawrence Lau spoke outside court.
I won't say this case is finished because further proceedings is going on. I am unable to say too much. Do bear with me. Thank you very much for the concern over all the defendants of this case.
Social worker Lee Yue Shun, who was also acquitted, told reporters he was feeling calm despite an expected appeal by prosecutors. The judges extended bail for those two and tentatively adjourned the case until June 25th, when those convicted are able to make mitigating arguments before final sentencing. In 2020, Beijing imposed the sweeping national security law, which saw arrests of democratic campaigners and the closure of liberal media outlets and NGOs. Beijing says the laws have brought stability to Hong Kong and that human rights are respected. The US and other countries have criticised the trial as politically motivated, calling for the accused to be immediately released. 31 defendants pleaded guilty and 4 of them have become prosecution witnesses. Sentencing for those found guilty will come later, with prison terms ranging from 3 years to life.
Let's now take a look at what else is making news in the world of elections. Mexico's presidential candidates have officially ended their poll campaigns ahead of election schedule on June 2nd. The Latin American nation is touted to get its first female president, with ruling party hopeful Claudia Sheinbaum and opposition coalition's Galvez going head-to-head in the upcoming elections. The polls have been mired in controversy, with pre-election violence scaling new heights. So far, 36 candidates have been assassinated in Mexico during the 2024 election cycle. With European Union Parliament elections just days away, concerns around alleged Russian interference are back in the spotlight. Investigators on Wednesday searched the home and offices of an EU Parliament staffer as part of a probe into suspected Russian interference and corruption. According to a statement released by the prosecutor's office, a search was carried at a staffer's home in northeast Brussels and his offices, 2 separate locations, with cooperation from French authorities. The investigations come in the backdrop of Belgian officials claiming that its country's own intelligence has determined that some lawmakers were paid to promote Moscow's propaganda ahead of the June 6th polls. In a key decision, Spain's Congress has overturned an upper house veto and approved amnesty for Catalan separatists. The crucial vote comes as a big relief for Catalonia's pro-independence leaders and is also expected to set the stage for Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez's second term. The bill, which shall become a law within the next 2 months, will annul the legal records of hundreds of officials and activists involved in Catalonia's separatist push since 2011. However, the bill can potentially face a challenge as several opposition leaders plan to challenge it in court. And with that, we are wrapping up this edition of Race to Power. Thanks for watching with me, Ananya Datta.
India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Africa's youngest nation goes to the polls in December as politicians of all hues, including current South Sudan's President Salva Kiir, jostle for power. A philanthropic organization urges rebels to surrender by dropping hundreds of thousands of flyers from a helicopter above their strongholds in dense rainforests. And an ancient game called Kora promotes unity and tradition in Algeria's mountains. Watch Wild of Africa at these times on WION. World is one.
This week on the West Asia Post, global outrage over Israeli strikes on Rafah that killed 45 civilians living in safe zones. The humanitarian crisis worsens as innocent people are pushed to the brink. When will this harrowing ordeal end? Also on the show, we talk about the future of Syria and the burdens of Syrian refugees in West Asia. Watch the West Asia Post with me, Radi Francis, every Friday at these times, only on WION. World is one.
Namaste. Hello, friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at yowon.com.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
The biggest democratic exercise on the planet ever. Decoding the multiple colors of this multi-dimensional, multi-layered spectacle. WION deciphers the images and the hues. Sifts real performance from rhetoric and noise, claims and counterclaims, populist pitches and hidden truths. Untangling, unraveling this celebration of democracy.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Fine Print. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start this broadcast by taking a quick look at what's making headlines at this hour. The NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg pushes at the start of a meeting of the alliance's foreign ministers to let Ukraine use the Western weapons to strike targets inside Russia, a move that's been sought by Kiev but's been opposed for now by its chief backer, the United States. President Emmanuel Macron will host a meeting with the American President Joe Biden and his wife Jill Biden on the 8th of June as part of Biden's first state visit to France. Intense shelling and gunfire by the Israelis rocks Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip, as Israel says that it has seized a strategic corridor on the Palestinian territory's border with Egypt. Preliminary results and projections show South Africa's ruling party ANC is on course to lose its 30-year-long unchallenged majority after voters queued up into the night to cast their ballots. A Hong Kong court finds 14 people guilty of subversion in the biggest case against pro-democracy campaigners since China imposed a national security law to crush dissent. And a top United Nations official has said that humanity is in a race against time to harness the colossal emerging power of artificial intelligence for the good of all, while also averting the dire risks that are involved. And the French Open bans fans from drinking alcohol in the stands in a bid to end unruly behaviour by drunk fans. The decision has come after Belgian David Goffin said that he was spattered by a spectator during his first round match in Paris. Murmurs of offensive attacks on Russian soil are gaining traction. More and more members of the NATO military alliance are now calling for Ukraine to be given the green signal to go on the offensive. The Moscow has warned that this move would actually widen the conflict. Our next report gets more details.
When the Russia-Ukraine war began, the West promised rock-solid support. It has provided Kyiv a steady flow of weapons in the battlefield. Primarily weapons that were of defensive nature. Initially, the focus was